The first time I saw the ring, I told myself I imagined it. I was halfway under a maintenance panel in Corridor 7, hands covered in coolant, back aching from a double shift, when the Imperial procession passed. I wasn't supposed to look up. Humans weren't supposed to look at anything in the palace unless it was broken. But I did, just for a second. The Empress moved like silence given shape, tall, silver-skinned, her ceremonial mask catching the light of the crystal hall. Guards, nobles, attendants, all noise around her. And then there was her hand. Gloved. Perfect. Untouchable. Except for the moment the fabric shifted. And I saw it. A thin band. Simple. Smooth. Human. Not Valerian. I remember frowning, still half under the panel. It didn't fit. Nothing about their kind was simple. Everything they wore was power, status, geometry carved into meaning. That ring looked like something from Earth. Like something personal. I didn't understand why it bothered me. I forgot about it. Or at least, I thought I did. Hours later, I took a wrong turn. That's the kind of mistake that gets humans reassigned. Or erased. The palace corridors weren't built for us. Too many identical doors. Too many restricted sectors we were told never to approach. I was following a flickering environmental signal. Something wrong with the humidity regulators. And before I realized it, I was standing in front of a door that should have been sealed. It wasn't. It slid open at my touch. And everything in me went cold. She was there, standing by a wide, arched window overlooking the twin moons of Verelion. No guards. No attendants. No mask. For a second, I didn't breathe. Her face, sharp, flawless, alien, and yet not distant. Not untouchable. There was something raw in it. Something unguarded. Something human. Her hand trembled slightly. The glove was gone. And the ring was there again. Clear. Real. Then her eyes locked onto mine. And I knew, with absolute certainty, I should already be dead. I didn't remember moving. One moment I was standing in the doorway, frozen between instinct and disbelief, and the next, the world snapped into motion. Alarms didn't sound. They didn't need to. The guards were already there. Valerian Imperial Guard didn't rush. They appeared. 1 second the chamber was empty. The next I was on my knees, my arms twisted behind my back, my face pressed against the cold crystal floor. I tasted blood before I realized someone had struck me. Execute him. The voice cut through everything. Cold. Precise. Absolute. High Chancellor Varex. I lifted my head just enough to see the edge of his robes sweeping across the polished floor. Black and gold, layered like armor disguised as ceremony. His presence filled the chamber in a way that had nothing to do with size. This human has seen what he was never meant to see. He continued, louder now, projecting to the guards, to the chamber, to anyone who might dare question him. Protocol is clear. A blade slid free somewhere behind me. Not dramatic. Not theatrical. Just efficient. I didn't struggle. Maybe I should have. Maybe some part of me should have fought, begged, tried to explain that it was an accident, that I had taken a wrong turn, that I hadn't meant to see anything. But none of that mattered. I knew it. They knew it. The moment I saw her face, my life ended. Everything after this was just delay. The edge of something sharp pressed lightly against my neck. Not enough to cut. Just enough to promise. Do it, the Chancellor said. And then, stop. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The blade didn't move. For a second, no one breathed. I turned my head slightly, just enough to see her. She hadn't moved from the window, but something about her had changed. The stillness was gone. There was tension now, tight, controlled, like a storm held beneath glass. Your Radiance, the Chancellor said, slower this time, more careful. The human has committed the highest offense. He has seen. I am aware of what he has seen. Her words were calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that made the air feel thinner. The Chancellor hesitated. It was small, subtle, but I saw it. Everyone did. That changes nothing, he pressed. Protocol demands immediate execution. Delay invites. Leave us. Silence. Not the quiet kind. The heavy kind. The kind that presses against your chest and makes you aware of your own heartbeat. My Empress, the Chancellor said, and now there was something sharper beneath his tone, something edged with warning. With respect, I cannot. I said. She interrupted, turning slightly. Leave us. That was when I saw her hand. Bare now. No glove. And the ring, thin, human, impossibly out of place, caught the pale light of the moons. Her fingers curled around it, not like jewelry, like something she was holding on to. The Chancellor followed her gaze. For just a fraction of a second, his composure cracked. I didn't understand why, but I saw it. Your radiance, he said again, more carefully now. This is highly irregular. The assembly will require all of you, she said, louder this time, her voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. Leave. And something in it changed. It wasn't just authority anymore. It was something else. Something raw. Something dangerous. I didn't see her full face, couldn't from where I was, but I saw the Chancellor's reaction. He flinched. Actually flinched. So did the guards. Whatever expression she wore, whatever they saw in her unmasked face, it wasn't meant for them. It wasn't meant for anyone. The tension snapped. The Chancellor bowed. Slowly. Reluctantly. As you command. Your radiance. The guards released me. Not gently. I hit the floor hard, catching myself just before my face slammed into the crystal. Pain flared through my arms, but I barely noticed. Because they were leaving. All of them. The Chancellor. The guards. The attendants who had silently gathered at the edges of the chamber. They didn't argue. They didn't question. They left. Quickly. Like they didn't want to be there anymore. Like staying would cost them something they weren't willing to lose. The door sealed behind them with a soft, final sound. And just like that, I was alone. Alone with her. I stayed on my knees. Not because anyone told me to. Because I didn't know what else to do. The silence stretched. Long enough for me to hear my own breathing. Long enough for me to realize my hands were shaking. Long enough for the reality of the situation to settle in. I had seen her face. By every law of this empire, I should have been dead already. So why wasn't I? I looked up. Slowly. Carefully. She was still by the window. Still holding that ring. Her back was to me now, the pale light of the twin moons outlining her silhouette in silver and shadow. For a moment, I thought she might speak. She didn't. Instead, she took a step toward me. Then another. Each movement deliberate. Measured. Controlled. Until she stood just a few feet away. Close enough that I could see her clearly now. Close enough that there was no pretending anymore. No distance. No illusion. Her face was not what I expected. Not just beautiful. There was something sharper in it. Something carved by time, by control, by things I couldn't name. But beneath that, something else. Something I recognized. Something I hadn't expected to find in the most powerful being in 12 systems. She studied me. Not like a ruler examining a subject. Like a person trying to understand something unfamiliar. You are afraid, she said. It wasn't a question. I swallowed. My throat felt dry. Yes. There didn't seem to be any point in lying. She tilted her head slightly, observing. Yet you do not look away. I hadn't realized it. But she was right. I was looking straight at her. Not in defiance. Not in challenge. Just looking. I should have dropped my gaze. I knew that. Every instinct I had told me to. But I didn't. Because in that moment, she didn't look untouchable. She didn't look like an empress. She looked alone. And somehow, that felt more dangerous than anything else in the room. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Let's move on. I should have lowered my eyes. Every instinct I had, every survival reflex drilled into me since the day I arrived in the Dominion, was screaming the same thing. Don't look. Don't think. Don't exist more than necessary. But I didn't. Because the longer I looked at her, the less she looked like something untouchable. And the more she looked like someone who had been alone for far too long. I can correct that, she said quietly. I blinked. Correct what? Your lack of instinct, she replied. Most would not meet my gaze in this state. There was no anger in her voice. No threat. If anything, there was curiosity. And something else. Something sharper. Maybe most haven't seen what I've seen, I said before I could stop myself. The words slipped out. Too fast. Too honest. I expected the reaction immediately. Guards storming in, a blade at my throat, the end finally catching up with me. But nothing happened. She just watched me. Carefully. Explain. One word. Simple. Impossible to ignore. I hesitated. Not because I didn't have an answer. Because I wasn't sure I should give it. But then I remembered where I was. Who I was talking to. And how close I had already come to dying. There wasn't much left to lose. I've seen worse things than a face, I said. Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes did. A shift. Small but real. What could a human technician have seen that would compare? She asked. No mockery, just interest. I let out a slow breath. I've seen what's left behind, I said. When someone you love stops being there. The words felt heavier than I expected, like I hadn't said them out loud in a long time. Her gaze didn't waver, so I kept going. I've seen empty rooms that still feel like they're waiting for someone who's never coming back, I added. I've seen what it does to a person when the world keeps moving and you don't. Silence. Not uncomfortable, just still. She took a step closer. Close enough now that I could see the details of her face more clearly. The precision of her features, the unnatural symmetry, and the flaws. Small, subtle, almost invisible, but there. Tension at the edges of her eyes. A tightness in her jaw. The kind of things you only notice when someone stops pretending. You speak as if you understand loss, she said. I do. She studied me for a long moment. Then, you were still looking at me. I hadn't realized it again. But she was right. I hadn't looked away once. Yeah, I said quietly. Why? That one word carried more weight than anything she'd said so far. Not a command. Not a challenge. A real question. I thought about it. About the right answer. The safe answer. Something respectful. Something careful. Something that wouldn't get me killed 5 minutes later. But none of those answers felt true. So I gave her the only one I had. Because you look like someone who's been through the same thing. That did it. Not outwardly. She didn't flinch. Didn't react the way a ruler should when a human spoke to her like that. But something inside her shifted. I saw it. In her eyes. In the way her hand tightened slightly around that ring. In the way her breath caught. Just for a second. You presume much, she said. I could be wrong. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, you are not. The words came out quieter. Almost reluctant. She turned slightly, walking past me toward the center of the chamber. Not to create distance. Just to move. Like standing still had become too much. For 73 cycles, she said, her back to me now, no one has seen my face. I didn't interrupt. Didn't speak. I just listened. They see the mask, she continued. They see the throne. They see what they require. Her voice stayed controlled, measured, but the edges were starting to crack. They do not see me. Her hand lifted slightly. The ring caught the light again. For a moment, she just stared at it, like it was the only thing anchoring her to something real. I pushed myself up slowly from the floor, not standing fully, just enough that I wasn't kneeling anymore. That sounds, I started, then stopped. She glanced at me. Finish. Lonely. The word felt small. Too small for what she was describing. But it was the closest I had. For a second, nothing. Then she let out a short, quiet sound. Not quite a laugh. Not quite anything else. Lonely, she repeated. Like she was testing the word. Like it didn't belong to her. Then she turned back to me. Fully this time. And I saw it clearly. Not hidden. Not controlled. Not masked. Pain. Old. Deep. Unresolved. The Empress of the Valerian Dominion, she said slowly. Ruler of 12 systems. Commander of fleets that could erase your world from existence. She stepped closer. Is lonely. There was no pride in it. No arrogance. Just truth. And for some reason, that made it heavier than anything else she could have said. I met her gaze again. Didn't look away. Yeah, I said. I figured. That time, she did react. Not anger. Not offense. Something else. Something softer. Something almost fragile. What is your name? She asked. The question caught me off guard. Does it matter? I said. It does to me. Simple. Direct. No room to deflect. Noah, I said. Noah Reed. She repeated it quietly. Noah Reed. Like the words meant something. Like she was memorizing them. Then she looked at me again. More carefully this time. You should be dead, she said. Yeah, I've been getting that feeling. The Chancellor will return, she continued. With the guard. He will insist. I know. Does that not frighten you? I thought about that. About fear. About the past 2 years. About everything I had already lost. It used to, I said. She tilted her head slightly. Explain. I shrugged, the motion small. Fear kind of loses its edge after a while, I said. When you're not sure what you're still holding on to. Her eyes didn't leave mine. Not for a second. And then, something changed again. Not the pain. That was still there. But something else joined it. Recognition. Not of me. Of the feeling. I understand, she said quietly. And for the first time since I walked into that room, I believed her. The doors didn't open quietly this time. They burst inward. Metal striking crystal, footsteps sharp and synchronized. The kind of entrance meant to reassert control over a situation that had slipped. I didn't need to turn to know who it was. Chancellor Verex didn't wait for permission twice. "Your Radiance," he said, already moving into the chamber, a full squad of Imperial Guard at his back. "This has gone on long enough." The atmosphere shifted instantly. The stillness shattered. The moment we had, whatever it was, collapsed under the weight of protocol, power, expectation. I felt it. So did she. But her hand didn't move. It was still wrapped around mine. I hadn't even realized when it happened. At some point, during the silence, during the words we hadn't meant to say out loud, she had reached for me, and I had let her. Now her grip tightened. Not painfully, but firmly, like she wasn't planning to let go. "Execute him," Verex said again, more forceful this time, gesturing sharply. The guards moved. Weapons raised. Disciplined. Precise. They advanced 3 steps. And stopped. Not because they hesitated. Because they couldn't move any further. Not past her. "This human is under my protection," the Empress said. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It filled the chamber anyway. Verex's expression darkened. "With respect, Your Radiance, he has committed a violation of the highest order. The law is explicit. To witness. I am aware of the law." Her fingers tightened around mine again. I could feel it. Subtle. But there. Like she was grounding herself. Or maybe grounding me. "That law also states," she continued, "that one who sees the sovereign unmasked may petition for sanctuary under ancient right." The Chancellor froze. Not physically, but something in him locked. "He made no such petition," Verex said carefully. "I am making it for him." Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. Behind the Chancellor, the guards shifted slightly, uncertain. Not about their orders. About the ground beneath them. Because this wasn't normal. This wasn't how things were done. "You would invoke an obsolete law," Verex pressed, his tone sharpening, "to protect a human laborer who stumbled into a place he should never have been." Yes. No hesitation. No explanation. Just yes. The Chancellor's jaw tightened. "Your Radiance, this sets a precedent that—" "Does anyone here," she interrupted, her voice suddenly colder, sharper than before, "wish to challenge my authority to interpret the law of my own dominion?" That did it. The room went still again. But not the same stillness as before. This one had teeth. The kind that made people very aware of where they stood. No one answered. No one moved. Even Verex hesitated. And in that hesitation, I saw something new. Not just anger. Not just frustration. Fear. Small. Hidden. But real. It passed quickly. Replaced by control. Always control. "You place us all in a difficult position," he said finally. "I am not concerned with your position." Her voice softened slightly, but not in a way that made it weaker. In a way that made it final. "The human remains." The words landed like a verdict. Because that's what they were. Final. Irrevocable. The Chancellor bowed. Slowly. But there was no respect in it. Only calculation. "As you command, Your Radiance." But before he turned to leave, something caught his attention. Or rather, someone. A figure stepped forward from behind the line of guards. She moved with the same quiet precision as the Empress. But different. Sharper. Less restrained. Her mask was intricate. Woven platinum. Layered in patterns that seemed to shift as she moved. But even without seeing her face, I knew who she was. Princess Saris. The Empress's sister. She didn't speak immediately. Didn't address the Chancellor. Her attention was fixed on one thing. Our hands. Still joined. Still unmoving. And then, her gaze shifted. To the Empress's other hand. The one without the glove. The one holding the ring. I felt the moment she saw it. Because everything about her changed. Not outwardly. Not enough for most to notice. But I did. The slight tension in her shoulders. The fraction of a second too long, she held her breath. Recognition. Sharp. Immediate. Dangerous. Her voice, when she spoke, was quieter than the Chancellor's had been. But somehow, more certain. "I can't," she said. The guards glanced at her. Then back to the Chancellor. Then to the Empress. Confusion rippled through them. "She won't let go of his hand," Saris added, her tone flat, almost disbelieving. Now everyone was looking. At us. At the contact that shouldn't have existed. At the boundary that had already been crossed. The Empress didn't release me. Didn't even acknowledge the attention. Her gaze remained fixed on the Chancellor. "This matter is concluded," she said. And that was it. No more arguments. No more debate. The room understood. Varex inclined his head again. Tighter this time. Controlled. Contained. "Very well," he said. "We will proceed accordingly." He turned. The guards followed. One by one, they withdrew. But the princess lingered. Just for a moment. Her masked face angled slightly toward me. I couldn't see her expression, but I felt it. Assessment. Calculation. Something colder than the Chancellor's anger. Then she turned and left. The doors sealed again. Silence returned. But it wasn't the same anymore. Because now, it wasn't just about survival. It was about everything that had just changed. Slowly, the Empress's grip loosened. Not completely, just enough that I could feel the shift. "Why?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. Just looked at me. Really looked. Like she was weighing something. Deciding something. Then, "Because you saw me," she said. Simple. Direct. Unavoidable. "And you did not look away." Her hand tightened again. Just slightly. Like she was making sure I was still there. And for the first time since this started, I understood. This wasn't over. Not even close. They didn't take me to a cell. That was the first thing that told me how bad things had actually become. If this were simple, if it were just a violation, just a matter of law, I would have been locked away, processed, erased quietly. Instead, they gave me rooms. Not small ones. Not temporary quarters. Rooms. Crystalline walls, softly glowing with internal light. Furniture reshaped, clearly modified for a human body that didn't belong in spaces built for taller, sharper forms. A bed, awkwardly placed, like an afterthought someone rushed to include. Luxury wasn't the point. Containment was. Visible, watchable, controllable. Imperial sanctuary didn't make me safe. It made me important, and that was worse. 3 days passed before I saw her again. 3 days of silence, interrupted only by the sound of doors opening and closing, footsteps outside my quarters, and the quiet hum of a palace that never truly slept. And questions. So many questions. They didn't come from soldiers. They came from her. The princess. Saris. She arrived without announcement the first time. No guards. No warning. Just the door sliding open, and her stepping inside like she already owned the space. Which, in a way, she did. Her mask was different from the others. More intricate. More deliberate. Every line placed with intention. Nothing about her was accidental. "You are not what I expected," she said, walking a slow circle around me. I stayed where I was, sitting at the edge of the bed, waiting. "I get that a lot," I said. She ignored the attempt at humor. "Humans are fragile," she continued. "Short-lived, emotionally unstable, predictable." That sounds about right. She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could feel the weight of her attention. "And yet," she said, "you stand at the center of something you do not understand." Wouldn't be the first time. That earned me a pause. Not approval, but acknowledgement. "What do you know about her?" Saris asked. I knew who she meant. "Not much," I said honestly. "Liar." The word was flat. "Certain. I know what I saw," I corrected. "That's it." "And what did you see?" I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to answer. Because I wasn't sure how. "A person," I said finally. That was the wrong answer. Or maybe the right one. Because something in her posture shifted. Subtle, but sharper now. "She is not a person," Saris said. "She is the Empress of the Valerian Dominion." "Yeah," I said. "I noticed. You speak as if the distinction is irrelevant." "It is." That got a reaction. A real one. Not loud. Not explosive. But controlled tension tightening beneath the surface. "You are either very brave," she said slowly, "or very stupid." "Both, probably." She studied me for a long moment. Then, "She has not removed her mask in front of another being in 73 cycles," Saris said. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. "You understand what that means?" she continued. "I think I do." "Then understand this," she added, her voice dropping slightly. "The court does not accept disruption." "Yeah, I got that impression." "The Chancellor is already building his case," she went on. "He claims you manipulated her, that your presence constitutes a threat to imperial stability." I let out a quiet breath. "That sounds bad." "It is worse than bad," she said. "If he succeeds, you will not simply die." She leaned slightly closer. "You will be made an example." There was no emotion in her tone. Just fact. Clear. Precise. "What about her?" I asked. That made her pause. "Her authority will be questioned," Saris said. Her judgment undermined. Her position weakened. Silence settled between us. Heavy. Measured. So either way, I said, this ends badly. For you, she corrected. I almost smiled. Good to know. She straightened slightly. You do not seem concerned with your survival. I've had time to get used to that. That answer lingered longer than the others. She noticed. I saw it. A slight shift in her stance. Recalibration. And yet, she said slowly, you stayed. I frowned. I didn't exactly have a choice. You did, she said. You could have begged. You could have broken. You could have done what most would do to survive. I thought about that. About the moment in the chamber. About the look in the Empress's eyes. I didn't want to leave, I said. That was the truth. Simple. Uncomplicated. And apparently, important. Saris was quiet for a moment. Then, the ring, she said. My chest tightened slightly. I hadn't expected her to bring it up directly. What about it? I asked. Her head tilted slightly. Assessing. Measuring. You saw it, she said. Not a question. A statement. Yeah. What did you think it was? I hesitated. Because now, this felt dangerous in a different way. Something human, I said. That is correct. Her answer came too quickly. Too clean. And you find that strange? Yes. You should. She turned slightly, pacing once across the room. Valorians do not wear symbols of attachment, she said. Not like that. Then why does she? Sarah stopped. For a moment, I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, because it is not Valorian, she said. I already knew that. But hearing it confirmed. Made it heavier. Then what is it? I asked. She turned back to me. And even through the mask, I could feel her focus sharpen. That, she said quietly, is not something you need to know. A warning. Clear. Direct. But it didn't matter. Because I already understood one thing. That ring wasn't just an object. It was a fracture. Something from her past that didn't belong in the world she ruled now. And somehow, I had stepped right into the middle of it. Saris moved toward the door, then stopped. Without turning back, she spoke again. The Chancellor will not stop, she said. He will push. He will dig. He will find a way. I figured. And if you are the reason she falls, she added, her voice colder now, I will be the one who ends you. No hesitation. No threat. Just certainty. Fair enough, I said. She paused. Just for a second. Then, she has shown more life in the last 3 days than she has in 73 cycles. That surprised me. More than anything else she'd said. If you are the reason, she continued, then for now, I prefer you alive. The door opened, then closed behind her, and I was alone again, but not the same kind of alone, because now, I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't just about what I saw. It was about what she had lost, and whatever that ring meant, it was still shaping everything that was about to happen. The first time someone tried to kill me, I didn't see it coming. Not really. There had been tension building for weeks. Quiet looks in the corridors, conversations that stopped when I entered, guards who watched a little too closely or not closely enough. The kind of pressure that doesn't explode until it does. By then, I had settled into a rhythm I never expected to have inside the inner palace. Mornings in the gardens. Afternoons buried in language lessons and political briefings I barely understood. Evenings. Those were hers. Ours. She never wore the mask when we were alone. Not anymore. At first, it had felt impossible, like I was witnessing something sacred, something forbidden every time she reached up and removed it. Now it felt different. Not less important. Just more real. She would sit across from me in the quiet glow of bioluminescent trees, her posture finally relaxed, her voice softer. We didn't talk about power, or politics, or the council. We talked about nothing, and everything. And sometimes, we didn't talk at all. That night was like any other. The twin moons hung high above the garden canopy, their pale light filtering through layers of alien foliage that pulsed faintly with color. The air hummed, soft, constant, alive. She stood beside me near one of the silver pools, her reflection rippling across its surface. You are improving, she said, watching the way I formed the Valorian words. High praise, I said, from someone who corrects me every 5 seconds. You are still wrong every 5 seconds. Consistent, at least. A pause. Then, a small shift in her expression. The kind I had learned to recognize. Amusement. Barely there. But real. Her hand brushed mine. Light. deliberate. She didn't look at me when she did it. She didn't need to. I have been thinking, she said. That sounds dangerous. For you, perhaps. I smiled slightly. What about? She hesitated. Just a fraction. The future, she said. That was new. Before I could respond, something moved. Not loud, not obvious, just wrong. A ripple in the shadows. My body reacted before my mind caught up. I turned. Too late to understand. Just in time to act. The figure emerged from the foliage like it had always been there, black-clad, faceless, moving with a speed that didn't feel natural. The blade was already descending, aimed straight for her. No hesitation, no warning, no sound. I didn't think, didn't calculate, didn't weigh the outcome. I moved. Between them. The impact came a second later. Cold, sharp, precise. The blade drove into my shoulder, sliding between bone and muscle with terrifying accuracy. For a moment, there was no pain, just pressure. Then everything hit at once. White hot, blinding. I staggered forward, colliding with the attacker, throwing off his balance just enough. We went down together. The ground rushed up to meet me. The breath knocked from my lungs as the world fractured into fragments of motion and sound. I heard her voice. Not the controlled, measured tone of the Empress. Something else. Raw, unfiltered. No. The assassin recovered fast. Too fast. Already pulling a second blade free, shifting position to strike again. This time, to finish it. I tried to move. My body didn't listen. Everything felt distant. Slow. Heavy. Then, light. Not from above. From her. It erupted from her hand in a burst of pure, burning silver. Impossible, blinding, absolute. The assassin didn't scream. Didn't react. He was just gone. Disintegrated into nothing before the sound could even form. The silence that followed was worse than the attack. Because it meant it was over. And I was still here. Barely. I could feel the blood now. Warm. Too much. Spreading beneath me. Her hands were on me a second later. Pressing against the wound. Trying to stop something that didn't want to be stopped. No, she said again, quieter now, but more desperate. No, this cannot. I'm okay, I tried. The words came out wrong. Weak. Unconvincing. You are not, she snapped, her composure cracking completely now. Her face. Unmasked. Open. Terrified. Not for herself. For me. I had never seen that before. Not even in the chamber. Guess. I found something worth living for. I managed, forcing a half-breath that almost turned into a laugh. Bad timing. Even I knew that. Her grip tightened. Do not speak, she said. Save your strength. Footsteps. Voices. Guards finally arriving. Too late. Always too late. She didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't let go. Even as others surrounded us. Even as orders were shouted and medical teams pushed in. Her hand stayed in mine. Locked. Unbreakable. Stay with me, she said. And that wasn't a request. It was a command. The kind that moved fleets. The kind that bent entire worlds. Stay with me, Noah Reed. I tried to focus on her. On her voice. On the way her fingers tightened like she could hold me there through force alone. I'm trying, I said. And for the first time in a long time. I meant it. The world dimmed. Edges fading. Sound collapsing inward. But before everything slipped away, she leaned closer. Close enough that I could feel her breath. Close enough that nothing else existed. And then, she said it. Quiet. Breaking. I will not lose another. The words hit harder than the blade. Because in that moment, I understood. The ring. The way she held it. The way she had looked at me the first time. I wasn't just someone who saw her. I was someone who reminded her of someone she had already lost. And as everything finally went dark, I realized something else. That wasn't why she saved me. It was why she refused to lose me. 6 months later, I stood beside her in the council hall. Alive. Still not sure how. The chamber was full. Nobles, commanders, voices of an empire that had spent centuries hiding behind masks and rules. And at the center of it all, us. This union violates tradition, one of them said. Then change the tradition, she answered. No hesitation. No doubt. Her hand found mine beneath the ceremonial fabric. Still the same. Still real. Murmurs spread. Resistance. Fear. Anger. Then, she reached up and removed her mask. In front of all of them. Gasps echoed through the chamber. But she didn't look at them. She looked at me. This human saw my face, she said. and did not turn away. Her voice softened. For the first time in 73 cycles, I was seen. Silence. Heavy. Final. The vote followed. It wasn't even close. Some opposed. Most didn't. Too much had changed. Too much had already been broken. That night, we stood beneath the twin moons again. No guards. No masks. Just us. You should have died that day, she said quietly. Yeah, I said. I figured. Do you regret it? I looked at her. Really looked. No. She nodded once. Then leaned into me. Good, she said. Because in the end, I didn't just see her face. I saw her. And that was enough to change everything. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments what moment in this story impressed you the most. And also check out the other videos that just appeared on your screen. See you in the next video.